Anger is a drug, and I'll elaborate because I know it doesn't make sense on the surface, because it didn't make sense to me when I first heard it, but it'll make sense right here on this video, and hopefully this could be a tool that somebody could use to maybe seek further help. But I went to go see a therapist a couple of years ago, and after talking to me for a couple of minutes, he was like, you need anger management. I didn't think I did, because I'm not as bad as I used to be, but in hindsight, I'm measuring myself against a 15-year-old kid on the streets, you know? And so my temper was still bad. And in talking to him in our sessions, a little side note, I was actually hearing a lot of his problems. There was some weird stuff, but he gave me some nuggets. And I shared with him a podcast I heard where a neurologist had told the podcaster that they had hooked up wires to a brain, and at the push of a button, people could feel whatever emotion they wanted. They had joy, they had laughter, they had pleasure, they had anger, they had regret, you know, things like that. And the guys tells him, like, what button do you think people push the most? And he said, I would imagine joy or pleasure. He said, nope. And he goes, what was it? He said, it was anger. And when I told this to the therapist, he said, that makes a lot of sense, Juan. He said, my specialty is addiction, is substance abuse. And he said, how do you feel when you're angry with somebody? And he said, do you feel like power? Do you feel strong? And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, you do. And anybody listening to this, think about how you feel. Stop for a second and think about how you feel when you're angry. It feels kind of good. If you have to be honest with yourself, it actually feels kind of good to be angry with somebody. And he said, people get addicted to that, Juan. And he said, that blew me away. I never thought about anger like that. And I'll share an example of anger right now. It doesn't really fall in line with that, but I want to share this example of how anger works, because I really want this video to encourage, man, I don't give a shit about the likes or whatever, or the shares. I really want this video to, man, this might save a life, you know, this might save a family, you know. I had a homeboy that had to go anger management, and he was telling me the story about the class that he was in. He said the teacher was telling the story about this man whose wife was cheating on him, and the man was like really taking care of her, he was a good father and everything like that. She was cheating on him, and he said that when the guy was telling the story, he said he started getting angry at the wife. He said while the teacher was telling the story, the teacher came up behind him and just pushed him on the shoulder real quick, and my homeboy said he jumped up and put his hands up to fight the dude, and he had to stop him, like, whoa, 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 do you see what just happened right there? He said, I'm telling you the story, you're getting angry at this dude's wife, but when I came and I pushed you, it set you off. But would you have been set off if I had like that? If you weren't already angry at the story about that? The teacher had nothing to do with that, you know. And that's how anger works. A lot of times, the anger that we take on other people is meant for somebody else or a whole different situation. You know, if you're somebody that deals with anger, I really encourage you to really seek help for it. If more than one person has told you have a temper, don't be proud of that shit. These people are proud of that shit. There's nothing to be proud of, man. That's a weakness. That means you can't control your emotions. You know, so if you're somebody that struggles with anger like I do, man, seek help. And I really encourage, I really focus this on men, because men have a hard time with this, because let's be honest, that looks like some soft stuff, you know, it looks weak, you know. Nothing could be further from the truth, and nothing could be stronger than admitting, like, hey, man, I need to work on this so I could be a better man for my family. I'll leave that here for y'all. You know, hopefully this helps somebody out. Y'all have a good day.